Greetings and salutations. My name is Brian. These are the Probo Chronicles. Welcome to my first full-length video. It's going to be unedited, it's unscripted, and au naturel, coming from my cell phone. In this video today, I'm preparing the brand new battery. This here Everstart ES12M94 motorcycle battery that will be going in that beauty over there, my 1983 Suzuki GS550L. I've had that bike for 2.5 years now, trying to get it running, trying to get it on the road, and all kinds of delays, including discovering that the gas tank was no good, have prevented it from happening until now. With the recently insane gas prices, I've been more motivated than ever to try to get this thing registered and rideable. So one of the first steps in doing that was having to replace the battery. And this is my first time ever doing a motorcycle battery, and come to find out, it comes with the acid out of it. You have to actually add the acid yourself. I've been working on cars and motors and what for over 20 years, and this is the first time I've ever dealt with battery acid. So, and you'll have to excuse me if I pause. Like I said, this is unedited, unscripted, and I'm not stopping for anything. I have the instructions here. Obviously come in English. And check the languages. You'll excuse me, I want to make sure I'm correct. I'm going to assume it's Spanish. And of course, I'm going to refer to the directions as I'm reading them. So I want to do this correctly. So, right off the bat, I'm taking some safety precautions. Baking soda, neutralize any acid that might spill, because knowing my slippery hands, I'm probably going to spill some. I've got a heavy-duty rubber glove for handling the acid. I got another one for my other hand, which is probably not going to be handling it as much. But the hand that is actually going to be pouring the acid into the battery, I've got a super thick glove. A pair of clippers to clip the end off the bottle. Now it comes with a vent tube for the battery and this red tube for filling the acid. And it clearly states you want to use the red tube for filling the acid, not the clear one. The clear one goes on the end, on the vent. It also tells you, first thing is to remove this red cap. We're going to do that right now. Apparently some people must forget to do that. So like I said, I've never done a battery before like this. So in addition to reading the instructions, I did go on YouTube. I did see videos doing this, and I want to put the disclaimer right now. This is not an instructional video. I am attempting to do this for the first time, following in somebody else's instructions from YouTube. If I knew how to post a link to that video, I would. But given that I'm still in the amateur stage of YouTube, we're going to have to just live with it. So this is me actually just doing a video of following somebody else's instructions. So even if I make mistakes, you're going to see it. Hopefully I've read the instructions and followed enough. It is relatively simple, I will say that. So any mistakes that I make should be minimal. So one thing, the first thing they tell you in the instructions is to remove all the red vent caps. They've got these 6 caps here. that I initially thought twisted on, but apparently they just slide in and out. So go ahead and remove all those. Oops. I'm hoping that this video is going to serve as the inaugural video to a series about this bike. This bike has been very important to me, very special to me. It's like getting it was a dream come true. It was a bucket list, something I've wanted to do since I was a teenager, and something that almost didn't happen from an accident in 2012, which is another story for another day. So I really wanted to kind of document some of the steps I've taken to getting it on the road and hopefully getting it on the road this summer. I have other bikes. I have 2 mopeds, and obviously back here I've got my other baby, my GN 125. That again is another project and another video that I'll get to introduce you to at another time. So, okay, back to the battery. So one of the first things they tell you is that the acid has to be at specific temperature. It says you need to be 60 to 80 degrees, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, or 15 to 30 degrees Celsius. So I have a regular surface temp thermometer. I assume should work, and surface says 78.1. So I think that's more than enough to be able to do this. Plus, I did put it out not in direct sunlight. I did not put it out in direct sunlight. I put it out on this warm day, so I did put it outside for a little bit. And also, if I step off camera, you don't see my face. Again, this is a non-edited video, and I'm an amateur at this. So I'll try to present my ugly mug as much as I can, so you're not just hearing a voice. So, we have the acid ready. We have the battery ready. I have a piece of cardboard, if you'll see. I have a piece of cardboard on my little makeshift workbench here. So, alright. Now, oops. Excuse my stand there. You have to enjoy you'll have to enjoy some of the outtakes too on this. It'll make for an interesting video. It's almost a live video. It's a live video without being live. So my makeshift workbench here, I've got some cardboard, got baking soda in case I spill any. So pop open the bottle of acid, and it says clearly you want to cut the tip of this tip right here, but you want to leave enough on there to allow for the red tube to slide on. So my little nippers here say probably about there should be good. I'm going to get as far away from my face as I possibly can. Use the box to cover it. That thing took off, which is exactly what I was trying to avoid. But, so now the acid is open. So fit the red tube on the end. Now comes the fun part. So I have to take the acid and fill it into each one of these cells right here and fill it up to the upper fill line. So actually I'm going to reposition the camera a little bit. I'm going to put on my heavy duty gloves. My Judge Doom dip glove, as I would call it. If you ever saw Roger Rabbit, you know what I'm talking about. Now, to make this a little bit easier on myself, I also have a light that I'm going to place behind the battery so I can actually see where I'm filling it up to. A moment of truth now. Fill each cell up one at a time. I can smell it. That's why I've got my garage door open. I'm trying to do this in as ventilated as I can. See, now it's exactly what I said. Spilled a little bit. So, I'm probably going to have to come back and fill this up again, because you have to let it sit for an hour after it's filled. Like I said, I'm really trying to take my time doing this. Like I said, gently. What's the next? I'm sorry that this is so boring that you're actually seeing me do this in real time, but I think that's important. So you see that I'm not rushing, that I'm actually careful. And watching where the lever goes so I don't overfill it. Now the video that I watched, the guy had a voltmeter hooked up to it, and I unfortunately do not have one of those. And I don't really need to get that technical with doing this. Personally, I just want to get it done. You know, I just want to get this part of it filled. Never had to do this before, and I'm more concerned with doing it correctly than doing it fancy, in a sense. So, hooking up a voltmeter, to me, is just an extra step that I don't personally need to take. And if you search in YouTube for how to do this, how to fill a motorcycle or a power sports battery, as it's called, you'll find several videos. Potentially you'll even see mine. But like I said, mine is not instructional. Mine is not instructional. Mine's just kind of, like I said, following somebody else's example on YouTube. So I'm going to come back to the first cell and add a little bit more because I can see it's not quite there. So I've got, right now, I've got 4 of the 6 cells done. I'm going to move on to cell number 5. You also see that while I'm doing this, I'm talking as little as possible. I'm trying to really pay attention to what I'm doing. Be plenty of time to talk after. And I think this is going to be a 2-part video because I'll have to start another one once it's set. And I think in that one, I'll actually go through and introduce the bike. Okay, so we have 5 out of 6 cells filled up. And wow, used almost the entire bottle of acid. And thankfully I've only spilled a few drops right on the top, so that should be very easy to clean. Another thing it also says is, I know it says to top it off after an hour if it needs to be topped off, but I think after that, if it needs to be filled, it's used distilled water. I will double check in the instructions on that one. But we're almost there. So it says to let it sit for an hour. I've said that multiple times. To allow the acid a chance to excuse me, to really permeate the battery and activate, and it will begin to conduct charge once it gets filled up. So I think we have. I'm just going to top off these middle 2 a couple more drops. And overfilling, so I got it just right. So I'm going to leave it. I'm going to take the camera down to show where it's at. The light might blind for a second, so forgive me, but as you can see, I've got it right just about where it needs to be. So now, and as you can see too, where, if I can get to it, I'm trying to find the camera, sorry. The top part here with a little bit of spillage, but I will take care of that. Surprisingly, it used up almost the entire bottle of acid. There's literally that much left, which is perfect. I'm assuming they only give you enough to fill it up where it needs to be. So unfortunately it looks like I can't coax the acid that spilled on the top into the cells. I'm going to have to wipe it up, and that's, no big deal. I have paper towels on hand, which, you probably shouldn't use, but they're handy, and it's a very small amount. But I am going to dispose of it. What I am going to do, to be on the safe side too, before I dispose of it, and blot that out. Okay. Now, as a precaution, shut the light off. I don't need that. Blinding me now. And another point, like I had said earlier, is I'm doing it in my garage with the door wide open. You want to do this in a ventilated area because you can smell that sulfur. It's a pungent smell, and you don't want to be breathing it in directly. So, caution, I'm just going to put a little bit of baking soda on the paper towel to neutralize any of the acid, as well as on my gloves and hands, just in case I spilled any. But thank God I didn't have to use it. Okay. So now that now that the battery is full, the acid's in where it needs to be, we're going to let it sit for an hour. One of the issues I had with this, why it took me so long to do it, why I was concerned, and why I consulted YouTube videos on how to do it. The instructions, as clear as they are, didn't specify one important part. When you fill the acid in, between putting the acid in and letting it sit for an hour, do you replace the caps or do you leave it uncapped? I think that's a very crucial point. It's not in the instructions. The videos I saw, they left the caps off. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm leaving the caps off. I'm going to leave the door open for the next hour. And I assume that's also why you check in again afterwards. But like I said, that was a very important point. And I wasn't doing this until I was sure 100% of every step. Because and I'm in college. I'm a college student. I've taken chemistry a couple times, and though I haven't passed it yet, I know enough of it to know, not to screw around with this stuff. So, and like I said too, this is a brand new battery for a bike that I'm working very hard. It's a very important project to get on the road. And it's a minimal project too. Very little work has to actually go into this bike now. And it's been, like I said, there's another video coming about it, and I'll give the walking tour of it, how I got it, and even further. We'll see how that goes. But I would like to actually introduce the rest of the collection in that same video. I have two mopeds, two old European mopeds, and another Suzuki motorcycle. Really not much value to it other than to me. They're my toys. They're what I like. I've put a lot into them. I've enjoyed them, and so they're special to me. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to share to people through my videos. So not really trying to be famous, and like I said, I'm not trying to do an instructional video here. This was following somebody else's instructions and how it worked out for me. Since this is going to be a part two, let this sit for an hour, and we'll come back and go from there. Thanks for your attention.